This is going to be our video for Unit 2, Day 3. So what we talked about yesterday was graphing from tables of values. 2 days ago, we just talked about how we graph any kinds of points. Now we're moving into graphing continuous functions, so graphing linear functions today. So what we did yesterday, graphing the table of values, that can be used to graph any function. We can graph any function using a table of values. We're graphing lines, right? And lines and linear functions we use interchangeably. Our graphing lines, it's quicker if we don't make a table. We have 3 ways that we can graph them very quickly without having to make a table. So the first way and the easiest way, you've probably seen this before in your Math 1 class, is using the slope-intercept form. Slope-intercept form. So the slope-intercept form of a line is an equation that looks like this: y equals mx plus b. So this equation, m is called the slope, and b is the y-coordinate of the y-intercept. Alright, so real quick we'll talk about what each of those terms means. So we look at lines have different steepness. The steepness of a line is called the slope. Alright, so to find the slope of a line, how steep a line is, you count the change in the y direction over the change in the x direction. Or the way you probably learned this in Math 1 is rise over run. So one thing about slope are different directions for lines. Slope can be positive or negative. So the difference looking at the graphs, the positive slope will be going up from left to right, and negative slope will be going down from left to right. Alright, so if you look at the picture here to the left, it's going up from left to right. As we move from left to right on that graph, it's moving in the upward direction. So that'd be an example of positive slopes. So that's just a little bit about what slope is. You probably learned that in Math 1. Same thing with the y-intercept. So the y-intercept is a point where the line is going to cross the y-axis. So the x-coordinate for y-intercept is always 0, because anything on the y-axis has an x-coordinate of 0. Alright, so any y-intercept is going to have a coordinate that looks like this: 0, comma, b. And that b is what we put into the equation, the y-coordinate only. So if we look down here at these two examples, we're going to identify the slope and the y-intercept for each line on these graphs. So we're going to start with the y-intercept. So look at this first graph right here. This is the point where it crosses the y-axis. So I count 1, 2, 3, 4. Right, this would be the point 0, 4. When we go to make our slope-intercept equation, we're going to use the 4 in the equation. To find the slope, what I have to do is locate another point on this line. So I have 0, 4, and right here I have another point. If I want to see what that point is, I can count it out. It's 2 to the right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 up. So first we're going to count the change in our y direction, so how far up or down we go. We go up 1, so that's a positive 1. Then we're going to go right 2, so that's a positive 2, which makes our slope positive 1/2. Same idea on this next one. Y-intercept is right here. We go up 1, so it's 0, 1 is our y-intercept. We'd use b equals 1 in our slope-intercept equation. And if I want to find the slope, what I have to do is locate another point and count the change in the x and y direction. So here I'd be counting down to changing the y direction first. So that'll be a -2 since it's down. And I would go right 1. So that'd be a +1. So our slope would be -2 over +1, or just -2. So if we have an equation written out slope-intercept form, we can follow some basic steps for graphing it. I haven't included up here, but what we just did would be step 0. That'd be to identify slope and the y-intercept. Right, so based on this equation right here, right, number in front of x, that's going to be my slope. And this number right here is going to be my y-intercept. So identify my slope and y-intercept. First thing I'm going to do is plot the y-intercept. So here it's going to be 0, -1. So I'm going to move down 1 on the y-axis. Second thing I'm going to do is I'm going to count out the slope. Alright, so our slope we said was 3 over 1, which means in terms of rise of run, I'm going to go up 3 and right 1. Right, and that's starting from the point I just plotted the y-intercept. So I'm going to go up 3 and right 1. Same thing again, go up 3, right 1. Right, I can also do the exact opposite steps. Instead of up 3 and right 1, I could also do the exact opposite of that, go down 3 and left 1. And you can see that still forms a straight line. Once we have all the points plotted on the graph, we can go ahead and connect the points, and that will give us our line. So there's 6 problems right there for you to practice. Try some on your own. They're in the notes. Like we do with everything in this class, we like to work forwards and backwards, make sure we really have good understanding. So if we can take the equation and make the graph, what we should also be able to do is look at the graph and make the equation. So again, this is going to be a very similar process. We're just working in the other direction. So the steps are going to be about the same. The first thing we're going to do, we're graphing, is plot the y-intercept. Here we're going to find the y-intercept, or identify the y-intercept. So this is my y-intercept right here, 0, 3. Again, what that tells me in the equation is that b equals 3. Alright, so that's one piece of the equation. Alright, slope-intercept, so slope is one piece, and the y-intercept is the other piece. So I have the y-intercept, now I'm going to find the slope. Alright, so again, we're going to count out the slope. So to identify another point on this graph, and here's the next point on this graph. -5, 0. What we're going to do is we're going to count in our y direction first. It's going to be down 3, 1, 2, 3. That's -3. Then we're going to go left 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So our slope is going to be -3 over -5. Remember that negative over negative is positive. So our slope is really just 3 over 5. Right, and then our last step is just to put it into the equation. So f y equals mx plus b. We know the m is our slope, which is 3 over 5. Our y-intercept is 3. A couple things to point out. Anytime we're writing a function or a rule of something from a graph, we always need to have y and x in there. That's the most common mistake to make with doing this that I've seen students do, is to not write the x. They'll just write 3/5 plus 3. We need to make sure we have the y and the x in there. So there's some more problems down below here where you can practice doing this the other way. So you're taking the graph and you're writing the equation. On the back of this sheet will be your homework for tonight, where again you're doing both kinds of problems. So looking at the graph line, writing the equation, looking at the equation and graphing the line.